Hello and welcome back to Daily English with Lily and Leo. I'm Lily.
And I'm Leo. Episode 30. Can you believe it?
30 episodes. That is genuinely a lot of talking.
A lot of very good talking, to be clear.
If you're new here, welcome. We're two friends who talk about everyday life in English to help you learn naturally without boring textbooks. And if you've been here since the beginning, honestly, you deserve something. A medal, a certificate, something official.
At the very least, a podcast subscription, which is free, by the way. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do. It takes 5 seconds and it really helps us keep going. Okay, done with the business part.
Today's topic is creativity.
Creativity. Big word. Lots of feelings about it.
Lots of feelings, yes. And I think this one will be relatable because most people either think they're not creative or they're creative, but they can't quite get it out of their heads and onto the page.
Both of which describe me at various times of the week.
Same. Let's get into it.
So what made you want to talk about this?
I was trying to write something last week, not for the podcast, just for myself. A few thoughts about running, what it means to me. I sat down with my notebook and nothing. Complete blank.
Creative block?
Total creative block. I was staring at the page for 20 minutes. Then I made tea. Then I stared at the page again. Then I rearranged my pens. Then I made more tea.
The classic avoidance ritual.
It really is. And then I thought, I'll just go for a run. And somewhere around kilometer 4, the ideas started coming on their own. Whole sentences. So I came home, sat down, wrote 3 pages.
See, that's the thing about inspiration. You can't force it to arrive, but you can do things that make it more likely.
Running works for me. Movement clears something in my head. What about you? Do you have a way to get unstuck?
Honestly, pizza.
Of course.
Evening pizza, specifically. Something about sitting with a proper dinner, no pressure, no deadline, ideas just appear. It's my creative ritual.
I'll allow it. I've had cold pizza at my desk in the morning before a run, and I have to say, also not bad for thinking.
Cold morning pizza is not a creative ritual. That is just desperation.
Call it what you want. It worked.
Okay, but you mentioned getting stuck. I have a long and complicated relationship with creative blocks.
Tell me.
You know, I want to write something longer someday. Not journalism, something more personal. A long piece, maybe a book eventually.
You've mentioned it.
Right. So I have this notebook. Well, 3 notebooks. With ideas, first sentences, character names, observations I wrote down at 2 in the morning.
3 notebooks?
3 notebooks, 0 finished pieces. Because journalism has structure. There's a story, there are facts, there's a deadline, there's an editor who will call you. Creative writing has none of that. There are no rules, and that is terrifying, isn't it?
It really is. When there are no rules, you don't know if what you're doing is right.
In journalism, right means accurate. In creative writing, right just means feels right, which is not a useful measurement when you're on page 2 and you have no idea where you're going.
So the notebooks stay closed.
The notebooks stay beautiful and full of potential, which is much safer than actually writing in them.
That is very honest.
I'm a journalist. Honesty is a professional habit.
So we both struggle with getting started. What about our friends? Because I think there are some really good examples here.
Go on.
Mia, you've heard about Mia. She's a painter. She told me once that painting and baking are the same thing to her.
How so?
Both require precision and creativity at the same time. She approaches both like she's solving something. What color, what temperature, what texture. She doesn't separate the creative and the technical, and she says the result matters less than the process of figuring it out.
That's interesting, because for her, it's not, I have a finished idea and I'm going to express it. It's more like the idea appears while she's working.
Exactly. She labels all her paintings on the back in English too. Color, mood, feeling. She told me it's the most useful vocabulary practice she's ever done because she actually needs the words. She's not learning them for a test. She needs them right now for this painting.
That's so practical. I love that.
And then there's Anna. She reads English poetry out loud alone in her flat. Not to anyone, just to herself.
Why?
She says it helps her feel when something is wrong before she can explain why. The ear knows before the brain catches up.
That's a real thing. In writing, too, I read my own sentences out loud sometimes, and I hear where something is off before I can name the problem.
She's been doing it for years, building a sense for rhythm and sound, and she has a whole community now from the open mics she goes to, not to perform, just to be around people who care about language.
That's its own kind of creative practice, surrounding yourself with the thing you love.
And then Tom.
Oh, Tom. Tom is creativity.
That's dramatic.
But fair. 200 vinyl records, organized by genre and then by decade, floor to ceiling, in a whole room. He makes these hour-long playlists he calls journeys. They move through moods and tempos. There's an arc to them. It's not a shuffle. He thinks about the whole shape of the thing.
Oh, that's a lot of thought to put into a playlist.
He'd say it's just listening carefully. But listening carefully to 200 records across many years and being able to arrange them into something that tells a story without words, that is a skill. That took time to develop.
And he still sits on his porch in the evenings with it.
Still there, still on the porch, still with the vinyl. He says it's full silence, not empty silence.
I think there's something in that distinction. Full silence is when you're doing something that fills you. Empty silence is just absence.
Tom found his full silence. 3 notebooks is still my empty silence.
You'll get there. And then there's Thomas.
The baskets.
The baskets. His grandmother taught him. He has a regular job, but he says evenings and weekends are where his real energy goes.
I have 3 of his baskets. Controllers in one, cables in another, miscellaneous things I haven't decided about in the third.
That's very Leo.
But here's what I find interesting about Thomas. He doesn't think of it as art. He thinks of it as making something that lasts. The basket outlives 100 posts online. It's satisfying in a very physical way.
Creativity that results in something you can hold, something real.
As opposed to 3 notebooks of first sentences.
I didn't say it, but yes.
Okay, what is creativity then? We've been circling it.
I think it's making something that didn't exist before. And it doesn't have to be beautiful, it doesn't have to be useful, it just has to be yours.
The block happens when we put too much pressure on the yours part, because then the thing you make has to represent you well.
And if you're a perfectionist,
Which neither of us is, obviously.
not remotely, then the draft never becomes a final thing because the draft is embarrassing and the final version has to be perfect. But there is no final version without the draft.
Mia told me, she said, every painting starts wrong. The first 20 minutes are always wrong. She knows this now, so she doesn't panic when it looks bad at the beginning. She just keeps going through the wrong part.
Oh, that's actually useful for anything, not just painting.
The wrong part isn't a sign you're failing. It's just the beginning.
Which is why I keep playing guitar despite the neighbors.
You're still in your 20-minute wrong period. It's just lasting 18 months.
That's mean, but possibly true.
Honestly, though, do you still enjoy it?
I do. And I think that's the key. I play because it's the only part of my day where I'm not trying to be productive. I'm not running towards something or tracking something. I'm just making sounds. I express myself and nobody grates it.
That's actually rare. Most things we do, someone evaluates. Work, fitness, even sleep. There are apps now that grade your sleep.
Exactly. Guitar is mine, even if it's not very good.
Especially because it's not very good. There's something freeing about being bad at something you love.
Did you go back to the notebooks after the block?
I did. On Saturday morning, Biscuit was on my lap. I had coffee, no football on yet. I opened the second notebook and I just started writing. Not a story, just what I noticed that week. What a Wednesday afternoon felt like when the rain was coming in.
And?
It was a rough draft. Messy, no direction, but it existed, which is completely different from a blank page.
A rough draft is something to work with. A blank page is just anxiety.
Exactly that.
And speaking of things existing, the someday jar?
€5.10. Biscuit is taking her supervisory role very seriously. She sat between me and the jar twice this week.
Smart cat.
She has priorities. Actually, I wonder sometimes if the mystery box has something creative in it. Like, what if there's a sketchbook in there, or a journal I bought and forgot about?
There's only one way to find out.
Or I could just keep wondering. It's more interesting this way.
Vocabulary time. We've used all 5 words today already, so let's bring them together properly.
First, inspiration. A feeling or idea that makes you want to create something or do something. You can wait for it, but it often comes when you're already doing something.
Somewhere around kilometer 4, the inspiration arrived. You can also say something inspired you. The rain inspired me to write.
Next, block. A creative block is when you can't think of new ideas, or you can't start or continue your creative work.
I sat at the page for 20 minutes with a complete creative block. Almost every creative person experiences blocks. The skill is learning to move through them, not avoid them.
Third, draft. An early, unfinished version of something. A rough draft is the first attempt. Messy, imperfect, but real.
I wrote 3 pages, a rough draft, nothing polished, but something to work with. The word draft comes from an older meaning, a sketch or outline, the rough shape before the detail.
Fourth, experiment. As a verb, to try something new without knowing the result in advance. You experiment when you're exploring, not when you already know the answer.
She doesn't paint with a finished image in mind. She experiments. You can also say, I'm experimenting with a new recipe, or we're experimenting with the format.
And fifth, express yourself. To communicate your feelings, ideas, or personality through something you make or do. Words, art, music, movement.
Playing guitar is the only part of my day where I just express myself. It's often used in the context of creativity, but you can express yourself through the way you dress, the way you decorate your home, the stories you choose to tell.
Good 5. Grammar.
Today's grammar point, question tags.
What's a question tag?
A question tag is the short question we add to the end of a statement to check something, invite agreement, or keep the conversation going. You've heard them today already. That is terrifying, isn't it? That's a question tag.
Or, you're still in your 20-minute wrong period, aren't you?
Yes, exactly. The rule is straightforward. If the statement is positive, the tag is negative. If the statement is negative, the tag is positive.
So, let's try one. Tom has 200 records. Positive statement. What's the tag?
Tom has 200 records, doesn't he? Negative tag. Present simple, so the auxiliary is does, and we make it negative, doesn't he?
And a negative statement. Mark doesn't buy things in shops.
Mark doesn't buy things in shops, does he? Positive tag. The negative in the main clause flips to positive in the tag.
Interesting. And what about past tense?
Same logic. Mia told me her paintings start wrong. That's past simple. Tag, didn't she? Mia told me her paintings start wrong. Didn't she?
Anna hasn't performed at the open mic yet. Present perfect. Tag.
Anna hasn't performed at the open mic yet, has she? The negative auxiliary, hasn't, becomes the positive, has, in the tag.
And the irregular one?
I am. The tag is aren't I. You can't say am I not in natural spoken English. So I'm getting better at this. Aren't I?
Going up on aren't I, genuinely asking for reassurance.
Which brings us to intonation. And this is where question tags get interesting.
Go on.
Falling intonation on the tag, voice goes down, means you're almost certain. You're not really asking. You're sharing a view and inviting the other person to agree. Creative blocks are part of the process, aren't they? Down on aren't they? It's almost a statement.
You can't just wait for inspiration, can you? Down. I know this. I'm saying it as a shared truth.
Rising intonation, voice goes up, means you're genuinely asking. You want to know the answer.
You've actually finished something creative this year, haven't you? Going up. I don't know. I want to find out.
Exactly. Same words, same tag, different intonation, completely different meaning.
This is why spoken English is harder than written English.
Isn't it?
Down on isn't it? Definitely not a question.
Motivation time. And I think this connects directly to everything we talked about today.
It really does.
Because we spent a lot of this episode talking about blocks and wrong drafts and notebooks that stay closed. And I think what ties all the stories together is this. Creativity doesn't require talent. It requires showing up.
Tom has shown up to music his whole life, not because he was born knowing everything about vinyl, because he loved it enough to keep going, keep listening, keep building.
Anna reads poetry out loud alone in her flat, not for an audience, because she cares about language and she's practicing how it feels from the inside.
Mia keeps going through the first 20 wrong minutes, not because she loves being wrong, because she's learned that the right part comes after.
Thomas makes baskets because his grandmother taught him, and something in that stayed.
And I have 3 notebooks and no finished pieces, and that's okay, isn't it?
It is, because the notebooks exist. The ideas are in there. That's already something.
The draft doesn't have to be good. It just has to be real.
Your English is the same. Every time you speak, even when you hesitate, even when you get the question tag wrong, you're experimenting. You're in the 20-minute wrong period. It gets better. It always gets better.
1% every day.
Every single day. Right? Closing time.
Closing time, episode 30. Creativity, question tags, 5 words.
If you're listening on your commute or your morning run, hello! You're doing something good for yourself right now.
Even if you're also eating cold pizza.
Especially then.
If you haven't subscribed yet, please do. It's free and it genuinely keeps us going. And if you've been here since episode 1, thank you. Really.
Leave us a comment today. We read everything. The question, what's something creative you do, even if you're not very good at it? It can be anything. Cooking, drawing, writing, playing an instrument badly at 7 in the morning.
Thomas would like to add that basket weaving is extremely underrated. And he's right, isn't he?
Falling intonation. We're sure about that one.
We'll be back next week. Take care of yourselves.
See you then. Bye.
1% every day. Bye.